What is your relationship with your left foot now? After the unbearable lightness of being, Room with a View, and My Beautiful Laundrette, you decided not to make another movie until you found the right screenplay. How long were you prepared to wait? I don't know. As it turned out, I waited for a year. Could have been 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. How were you put in touch with the screenplay of My Left Foot? It just arrived one night. There was no forewarning, there was no phone call, no letter. It just flopped through the letterbox one evening. It was beginning to get dark and I hadn't turned the lights on in the house, and I heard the noise of something heavy landing on the mat, and I found this white script glowing on the doormat, and I started to read it. It was like a meteorite. You said you must have to know what you want to do and how much you're prepared to suffer to do it. How much were you prepared to suffer to do My Left Foot? I suppose in some respects My Left Foot was more demanding than anything else. But it also gave me a lot more, too. Why did you decide to be wheeled or carried during the 6 weeks shooting of My Left Foot? I just chose a way of working that seemed to me at the time to be the only possible way. I didn't feel that I was choosing between alternatives. More than acting, you seem to occupy other lives for a period of time. Yeah, I think so. I'm most interested in lives which appear to me to be at some distance from my own. The greater the distance, the more interested I am. What is your relationship with your left foot now? I think we're very, very close acquaintances who don't get a chance to meet so often. What about promotion interviews? I think actors in particular are encouraged to speak far too much about the work that they do. And I think that in the end it's detrimental to the way in which that work is perceived. So if I were able to avoid them more often, I would. Isn't it significant that your characters always appear to have communication problems? Yes, it probably is. I don't think anyone has ever pointed that out to me, but I think it probably is, yeah. What memories will you keep of the Oscar ceremony, apart from the Billy Crystal cracks? They were good though, weren't they? I suppose the arrival at the place where this event happened, I'll remember, because it was, one could hear it from some distance away. It was like entering into a gladiatorial arena of some kind. You could hear crowds of people kind of shouting and screaming. And then one had to take one's place in a 4-lane traffic jam of extremely large cars, which were disgorging the contents little by little, and then parade through this gauntlet of photographers, journalists, public, everyone screaming for attention. I'll remember that. That made an impression. I suppose everything else about that evening really paled into insignificance after the moment that the award was announced, because it had such a physical effect on me that, that I could barely make it up the stairs. And even if I tried to anticipate the eventuality of perhaps winning this award, I could never have guessed that it would have that kind of effect on me. And it was very shocking. It was like being in a car accident or something. What will be your next movie or play? I don't know. No, I'm back to square one. I'm back to the place that I was in before I made My Left Foot. What character do you dream to be on stage or on the screen? The truth is I've never had any specific ambitions for the future, ever. What do you owe to your family, and who were they? I suppose to my father, above all other things, I owe a certain understanding and a love for poetry. My father was a poet. Through my mother, I imagine a corresponding love for the theatre. My mother's an actress. Through my grandfather, to whom I became very close after my father's death, a growing understanding of film, certainly of British films. He'd been involved in the British film industry when that still appeared to mean something. As an Irishman, what do you think of the political situation now? My father was from the Republic of Ireland, from the south of Ireland, and most of my time has been spent in the south. And it's true that the lives of the people in the south remain almost entirely unaffected by what goes on beyond the border. I've spent a bit of time in the north, and I have friends from the north, and I know a little about what's going on there. It appears to be an unresolvable situation. It's terribly painful for the people that are living there. And I'm afraid, for whatever reason, I've always been in favour of Irish nationalism and Irish unity. And I hope very much that in the not too distant future, the British will get out of Ireland. But in saying that, at the moment, it would be impossible for them to leave without the most horrendous bloodshed. As a member of the United Kingdom, what do you think about the riots that took place last weekend? I think it's the tip of the iceberg. I think, I mean, the riots are about poll tax, but they're certainly not about poll tax. People have just come to the end of their tether in that country about so many different things. And most of the problems, one could say, came from the top. I think people in England are sort of rediscovering the business of riot, because there's a kind of tolerance in the country, which is like a sponge, and it soaks up all possibility of change. And even though a lot of the violence that takes place may be completely irrational and unrelated to anything positive, I'm always quite amazed to see it when people in Britain actually take it in their hands to try and make changes in a violent way, because it doesn't often happen there. Is it difficult when you're such a famous actor to avoid becoming a star? I mean, I've always managed to do the work that I wanted to do, and no one has really stopped me from doing that. What about French girls? What about them?
Et pour être sûr de ne rien rater de Arditube, abonnez-vous et mettez un pouce bleu.